couple practices, and what do you like about the team so far? What's the strength? What stands
Yeah,
out?
I think our strength right now, it may sound a little crazy, but it's our experience, which is wild when you think of what a small senior class that we have. But the seniors have all been in the fire before. We have a ton of juniors who have started an awful lot of football games for us, and we've had a lot of sophomores on the team who contributed as true freshmen. We've got a couple of redshirt guys coming back. When I look at our depth chart and I see 9 returning starters back on offense and 7 back on defense, that's the most that we've had in the 4 seasons that I've been here. So we've been able to install a lot throughout preseason camp, and the level of execution that we have is very, very high right now because we've got guys who've been there before.
You have a lot of guys on the team. I was looking at like the camp preview. Katrine was quoted, Morgan was quoted, Clark was quoted. These are all guys that came in at a certain position and have changed positions. What is it about their ability to do that helps? And what do you see from that?
Yeah, first it takes an unselfish attitude. We have a lot of guys who take. Ryan Clark, who comes in and actually long snaps as his freshman year. That's the way he helps the team the most and becomes our starting quarterback, and then gets a little banged up, goes through some adversity, and unselfishly says, you know what, I think I can help the team out as a tight end, and he sticks with it, and that's what a team is all about. It's greater than yourself, and Morgan's another guy who went from defensive back to receiver to running back, and Frank Katrine that went from running back to receiver. There's just you can look at all of these guys. Jay Sloan, most of them have changed positions at some point or another, and they've done it because they understand it's what's best for the team. It may not be their top position choice if they got to take their pick, but it's going to help the team win football games, and that's what this football team's all about.
Is that a position coach who comes into your office and lobbies for a guy? How does that like with
Sure.
Jarrett? Can you walk us through how Jarrett?
No, he came in and he had played some running back at Cooper City, Florida, and we knew he was athletic. Our needs at the time, running back was the deepest position that we had on the football team, and we had recruited Frank Katrine to be a part of that class. So we put him at defensive back because we knew he was athletic, and we thought he was tough and a competitor, had a little bit of a defensive mentality. But it showed first on special teams for him. He worked hard to get on the field, and that's how most freshmen make their impact, to be honest, particularly at the skill position. So he made a huge impact, wound up leading the country in kickoff returns as a true freshman, and that just showed us his playmaking ability. So as the season went on, we said, well, he's not really playing as a defensive back, but he's making an impact on special teams, and he really is a difference maker with the ball in his hands. So let's start to develop a role for him, and that's really how things came to be for him.
Has any of your impressions about the team changed going from the end of the spring practice and the spring game up until now?
Not really. I was really pleased with the spring. It was a really good spring, and a lot of players were able to step up. I think the camp has been great. Our injuries have been very limited, so it's been pretty steady so far. And like I said, I think we're as far as we've ever been in terms of executing at a high level when it comes, roughly 19 practices into the season so far.
You talked about some of the guys that you have coming back with experience. One of them was linebacker Drew Snuffer. I might have said that wrong. But how is he different at all this year? What has he gotten out of having a year of experience under his belt coming in?
Yeah, sure. Well, the first thing he did, he had a great sophomore campaign. Was one of our most productive defensive players, but it's the leadership. That really he has stepped up. He was voted by his peers as one of our captains for this coming season. As a junior, that's a huge statement because we have some really good senior leaders, and to have him voted shows how much confidence the football team has in his leadership ability, and he's really taken that to heart. He's welcomed that burden. He's embraced it, and he's grown a lot. He's still the same type of player in terms of he's an overachiever. He's intense, and he just makes plays. He's really hard to block, but he's really stepped it up from his leadership.
How do you handle the attrition of a non-scholarship program? I know that you've had a couple guys that, every year, every non-scholarship program has a couple guys who maybe the eve of the whole thing are like, well, they're not here. How do you handle that as a team, as a group, and all that? Yeah,
well, first of all, it's hard to predict. You never know who's that it's going to be, who runs into financial aid difficulties or personal difficulties. It's to go through 4 years without football paying for your education can be tough for some people. So we account for that by really trying to go out and recruit the right types of kids with the right mentality, ones that are truly playing because they're passionate for the game of football, because they love it, because they can't go to college without it, because ultimately that's what this team's all about. We practice for every minute that Notre Dame is practicing, we're practicing. For every second that Indiana is in the weight room, we're in the weight room. And every minute that Northwestern is lifting or is in the meeting room, we're in the meeting room. So that level of commitment, while have it not help pay for tuition or to put money in your pocket, it takes a special type of player to be able to go through that. And even more special type of player who will come in and say, you know what, I'm not going to start right away. I'm not going to play as a freshman. I may not even play or start as a sophomore, but it's not going to be until my junior and senior year that I'm really going to see the payoff for all my work and effort. So it takes one really tremendously dedicated, very mature, but just that passion has to be there. And we try to go out and we try to find as many of those people as possible. And they know, hey, when they show up, don't worry if you're the fifth guy on the depth chart. Hang in there, because a big part of non-scholarship football is just surviving the process, going through it, and being the last man standing in some cases.
When we say the name J.J. Nunez, what comes to mind for you?
Well, I'm thrilled that he got his 6th year. I mean, there isn't a better captain that we've had since I've been here, and to have him lose that 5th year, basically playing less than a half of football against Illinois State a year ago, to be able to see how hard he worked to come back and how hard he worked to get that 6th year of eligibility, I'm overjoyed that the NCAA has given him that opportunity, that payoff for all of his hard work. We're going to need him in a huge way on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to need every ounce of his leadership capabilities, and we're excited to have him here.
Is Jimmy the quarterback at the time being? Or
Yes.
I know in early games you've done multiple quarterbacks,
Sure.
but Jimmy seemed to do a very good job last year.
Yes, yeah, no, I mean, he embraced the role and stepped up, and as a true freshman quarterback, did tremendous things. And he's continued his development. He's a much better quarterback now than he was a year ago at this time, or even 6 months ago. So we are definitely looking forward to him as our starting quarterback. That being said, yes, we most likely will get another quarterback involved early on in the season to get them some experience as well, because Jimmy's really the only quarterback that we have that has thrown a pass in a varsity game. So we're going to look to get some seasoning out of at least one other quarterback, and right now that leading candidate would be Chris Duncan, who's a redshirt freshman, and really is coming off a pretty good scrimmage on Saturday, where he stepped up and put up some pretty good numbers. He's also a mobile player, and he's really matured a lot from his freshman year as well. So right now he's the leading candidate, but we still have a ways to go until Montana, so we'll see what shapes out.
Is there one or two true freshmen that have stood out to you so far?
Oh, there have been
or
enough.
Have you needed them to stand out as much as you've had in the past?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Both accounts, we absolutely have. There's been some freshmen who have stepped up and have been tremendous on defense. Jeremiah Alojo is just a ultra physically ready to go freshman on the defensive line, and he's still learning his schemes, but he seems to stand out each and every day. Dylan Scargill in the defensive backfield has stepped up and is made his way into the two deep as well. On the offensive side of the ball, there's been a number as well, but you're exactly right. Because our depth, we have more depth than we ever have before. We have some really good players that we're very excited about, but they may not necessarily be getting the same amount of playing time as if they would have shown up as freshmen, say 2 seasons ago, where we were playing a ton of seasons. So a multitude of freshmen who really are going to have bright futures ahead of them. But fortunately for us, there's only going to be a couple of them involved in a starting rotation. A lot, probably more so, will be on special teams, helping to contribute and add to our depth there. But yeah, it's a good sign of where the program has come from. Okay, all right, thanks guys.